There was a mysterious scissor, which I found hidden on top of the closet carrying an evil presence along. Please help subscribe, like, comment, and share to friends and families to help this content grow, so with more videos to come. It began back in June 14, 1991, when me and my mother first moved to a new house located in a small town. I was only 11 years old at that time. It was a small house with 2 bedrooms, a perfect home just for me and my mom. My dad had actually passed away 2 years ago after a car accident. Luckily, we didn't have much stuff before moving into this house because most of our stuff was given away to friends and relatives, other than that we also did a yard sale too to try to get rid of most of our things. We only brought the necessary things we needed and our beds to the new house. I was setting up my own bedroom by taking everything out of the cardboard boxes which I had packed my items inside. My mom was busy setting up her own bedroom. I try avoiding asking her to help me to set my bedroom, since I'm old enough to do it myself instead of always asking my mom for help. While I was putting things in my closet standing on a chair, I then found something laying at the corner of the shelf sitting on top of the hanger wooden bar. It appears to be something wrapped inside a paper with rubber bands around it. I reach out to grab it and see that the thing wrapped inside the paper feels hard, like metal. This got me curious to see what was even wrapped inside the paper. I step off of the chair and begin to remove the rubber bands off of the paper. At first, I thought it would be something surprising that has been left behind, which is why I was so curious to open it. I unwrapped the paper and found a scissor made of metal-colored silver. The scissor had a stem of leaves designed molded onto the scissor outer blade part, making it appear special. I just thought it was a rare, beautiful scissor once owned by someone to collect it as a souvenir. So I kept it with me ever since I found it from the top of the closet shelf. It wasn't until night I managed to set everything neatly in my bedroom. I even have my drawer next to my bed where I would place my pencils and pens all together inside a can right on top. I put the silver scissor that I found from the closet onto the drawer beside the can of pencils and pens. The next morning, I woke up from bed and found that the scissors had been moved towards the edge of the drawer, with the blade part sticking out of the edge, almost falling off. At first, I thought my mom came into the room and took a look at the scissor after she saw it placed on top of the drawer. I remember after washing my face, I went to ask my mom if she came into my room when I was asleep. My mom told me she never came into my bedroom, so it got me curious how the scissor got moved so far to the edge of the drawer. Around the afternoon, I was using the scissor to cut out some colored papers making my project. The scissor was so sharp and instantly cut through smoothly, which was really surprising to know. I was cutting so many papers. Then I accidentally cut my left index finger skin after going too fast. My hand begins bleeding and I rush to the bathroom to look for a bandage to patch up my cut wound. When I can back, I realize that the scissor also has my blood left stain on the edge of the blade part. I use a napkin to wipe my blood off of the blade and clean up my things to avoid being cut again. During dinner, my mother asked how I cut my hand after seeing a bandage patched around my left index finger. I told her about finding the scissor above the closet shelf. She didn't worry about the scissor, except telling me to be careful when cutting paper with the scissor. At night, I was reading a book in bed. It was getting cold as the night grew darker. I was falling asleep when I was barely reading halfway through the book. This was the only way to put me to bed early. As I fell asleep, maybe more than 5 to 10 minutes later, I began hearing something rattling next to my ear. This noise woke me up when I opened my eyes looking to my left. There was nothing or anybody there. The hallway light was still on, so I knew my mother was still awake. She had left my door open a few inches. I then just went back to sleep. It wasn't long after I began hearing a rattling noise again, which woke me up from my sleep. I looked again over to my left side and there was nothing seen causing the noise. I gazed over to the door and noticed the hallway light was actually off, probably because my mom may have left to sleep in her bedroom. I just try to ignore it and try to go back to sleep when I realize my closet door has been left wide open in the dark. This got me curious how the closet opened up by itself when my mom hadn't come into the bedroom. The reason I knew my mother hadn't come into the bedroom is because the door was still left open at the same thing earlier the first time. I woke up from my sleep. I pulled my blanket to the side even though it was cold, but I have my pajamas worn so I didn't bother much. At the same time, I was apparently still very sleepy when getting out of my bed. I got up and gently walked over to the closet door at the corner of the bedroom. What came to mind was why the closet it was closed before I left to bed. I got closer to the closet and reached over to the doorknob, just gazing inside, seeing nothing but darkness due to the night. I was getting a little frightened there, just standing by the closet staring right inside. For a second, I felt cold air flowing around my bare feet when gazing into the dark closet, imagining something would be coming right out at the second. When I get scared, then my mind wanders off thinking about scary things into I couldn't stand there any longer, so I then closed the closet door and headed back to my bed, trying not to look back, thinking if the door of the closet reopens by itself, I hop right back onto the bed and pull my blanket back over my body, laying flat on my back, staring at the ceiling. I try to think of something else to not remind me of scary things. It took a while until I was able to stop thinking about the closet. I began to feel sleepy once again. Strangely, then I began hearing the same rattling noise again, waking me up again from my sleep. My eyes open and look over to my left, catching the scissor again sitting at the far edge again, about to fall at the very second as somebody purposely moved it there. I just kept staring at the scissor for the next few seconds until the scissor goes falling right off to the ground. It was so strange how that happened. I scooped to the side of the bed and reached down to grab the scissor when it is way too dark. My hand was sliding on the floor from left to right until I managed to grab it, though it felt soft and larger, unlike the scissor. It was like I had grabbed onto somebody's cold feet who was standing there. I stood up screaming while moving away on my bed, leaning my back onto the wall. I was telling myself what I just happened to touch. My mother woke up and came running to my bedroom as something terribly bad happened to me. She quickly pushes the door open and turns the light on the very second, stepping into my bedroom, catching me shivering by the wall on top of the bed. I saw my mom and crawled over to the side of the bed so I could cuddle her because I was so scared of what I just experienced. My mom comforted me that second as I told her I felt I touched somebody's cold feet, feeling like it was a large feat as a grown adult. My mom went around my bed to check in my closet, which was not closed. I pulled my blanket over my body the second my mom tried to open the closet door, feeling so scared if someone was hiding in the closet. My mom pulls the door open. She stood there gazing in the closet for a few seconds and said there was nobody inside. She closed the closet door and came sit onto the side of my bed to hold me once again to have her warm cuddle. I felt as if I couldn't sleep in the bedroom for the night, so she took me to sleep in her bedroom, though we didn't bother to pick up the scissor and left the bedroom. The next day, I came back to my bedroom to change when it was morning while my mom was making breakfast in the kitchen. I found the scissor still laying on the floor right next to my drawer when I couldn't find it last night. Since it was daylight, I wasn't thinking much about what happened last night. I took the scissor with me when I went to the bathroom and placed it on top of the sink before I dove into the tub for a quick shower. When I came out, I dried myself with a bath towel and walked to the mirror after putting on my new clothes. I combed my hair and left the bathroom, though I never figured why, or came to mind at the time, why I brought the scissor with me to the bathroom for no reason, like it was my own teddy bear. After breakfast, my mom left me and went to use the bathroom. I was sitting in the kitchen finishing up the last piece of bacon and scrambled eggs. My mom had finished her plate already, and that's why she left to use the bathroom. I was playing with my scrambled eggs, trying to create a happy face shape using my spoon. I told myself how delicious my mother's cooking was. She always knows how to cook to make me satisfied. Suddenly, I hear my mom's voice burst out screaming in fear before I could finish my eggs. It sounded terrifying. I dropped my spoon that second and got out of my chair, heading over to see what was going on when my mom was already coming back, She was in a rush telling us to leave the house right now. I was scared seeing how my mom was reacting at the moment. She grabs the car key and her purse before leading us outside the house. We got into the car and drove away to my auntie's house. The whole time driving, my mom didn't even say anything except focusing on the road like she was terrified after seeing something in the bathroom. I was too scared to ask what happened since seeing how awkwardly frightening my mother was. When we got to my Auntie Rachel's house, my mom told us what she saw, which was so terrifying to hear. She said that the second she was about to walk into the bathroom, she saw someone in the reflection of the mirror. It was someone she saw, though it was a ghost reflection. She explained to us, specifically saying that it was a woman around her late 30s, dressed in a white sleeping gown dress. What was scary about it was that she appears to have dark circles below her eyes. There was a cut slice to appear under her chin about 2 inches long. The scariest thing about it was that she was touching the scissor, laughing awkwardly strange the second my mom saw her in the mirror reflection when Save was coming down the hallway. This gave me and my auntie chills after hearing it. I even tell my aunt what happened on the night before too. Aunt Rachel called the owner of house and made a complaint about what me and my mom went through. The owner apologized for everything that has happened in that house. He mentions that was the scissor, which a lady used to live there commit suicide with that scissor in the bathtub. But nobody knows how the scissor ended up being wrapped around in a paper and hidden on top of the closet shelf. That was the story of how I found the scissor mysteriously hidden in the closet. Thank you again for watching. Please help subscribe, like, comment, and share to friends and families to help this content grow, so with more videos to come.